You can, even better, Simon. Yeah, okay, maybe not. Dad dancing.
Excellent. So how many have we got tonight? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And our guest Martin, 13. And how many have we got online? Because I can't see the screen at the moment.
Six.
5.
Okay, that's
5.
not too bad.
Yes.
20. Okay, so welcome to our September gathering. Has everyone enjoyed their 3 months off? Time off for good behaviour.
No kidding.
Yeah. But if you're in my diary, then you've probably been helping me with solar observing. We did sort of an impromptu public event on, God, was that Saturday? Yeah, because I got reported to security at the school. Yeah, so I had to apologise that I didn't give them enough notice that we were going to be using the telescope. But that's okay, they've forgiven me. Yeah, so we've got loads of stuff coming up. So if you want to go out and look through telescopes, we're definitely one of the local societies that really is big into getting people behind telescopes and actually looking through them. So what have we got on tonight? We've got Martin Griffiths, who's come all the way over from Wales today, fought through the traffic to get through, and actually he's hot off a boat off the Queen Mary 2. So he's probably just getting his legs back after sort of 8 to 10 days. Anyway, he's going to talk to us about bright asterisms in binoculars and small telescopes. And if you don't know what an asterism is, I'm sure we're going to cover it off very, very quickly. Otherwise, it might be a short talk. All right, so the usual, welcome to the new season. Your group, that's your coordination team. There's actually 7 in the coordination team. I'm on the end here. You can't see me. Imagine I'm on the end here. But Merrick looking very sort of smoking there.
Simon, we can't see your screen.
You're not screen sharing.
You're not screen sharing, Simon.
Not screen sharing. Ah, good point. Yeah. So that's so you must always be wary when you're near me with running an event or similar, because I will get the camera out and be taking photos of what's going on. So hopefully in a second you'll be screen sharing.
Yay.
Woo. That wasn't too tough, was it? Right. Okay. Yeah, so with 7 in the coordination team, we're coming up to 89 members. We've had a few join us over the last weeks or so. So if you see any of these people on the high street, stop them. Mike doesn't want to be recognised. He's still wearing his mask. But we're the sort of, anyone can join in the coordination team, the more the merrier, which is why Merrick's sort of come in. He's been doing loads of outreach with us, so it might as well make it formal to give him actual jobs to do. You can get hold of us in lots of different ways, the website, email, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. Don't do so much on Instagram, but we've got some active WhatsApp groups as well, one for observing and one for social. I think Prim's in charge of the social group. And so there's a number of events that are going on here, but just it's trying to make it more of a community. You can do all the astronomy you like and learn everything you need online. Okay, there's YouTube, but you don't get to talk to anyone. You don't actually get to share experience. You don't get to ask silly questions. You don't actually get to sort of just sit there, look at the night sky and just talk to someone about how amazing it is. Okay, so that's why people come to societies. That's what we're here to do, and also to sort of give you fascinating talks, which is why we bring Martin. Okay. So what we've been doing over the summer, we were down in the garden down here doing solar observing for the museum. We took a shop over for a day in August, and we did solar observing from outside the shop, and we're doing activities in the shop. Apologies for the photos, Prim, but you get into photos. I do like Tony's hat. I wish I had a hat like that. Yeah, and we've got Steve in the background there. But just generally talking and getting people to look through telescopes and look at the world around them. So we'll be doing lots of that over the summer. We actually got the planetarium to work and had a show. So we've had 4 shows of the movie that we helped make with the museum, which celebrates William Herschel and Caroline Herschel. And we were running those at the Percy Centre just up the road. And we now have permission to use the planetarium, thanks to Prim asking the question, to use it all the way through 2023 as well. So schools are now booking the planetarium, and that's quite good because when we go into schools to do stargazing and things, often it does cloud over and we have to cancel. We get this thing of organize, cancel, and it's terrible. So now we've got the planetarium. If they've got enough room, we'll just have that. So if it's cloudy, then the kids can go into the planetarium. And if we do a show based on what they could have seen that night, then that'll be very close to the experience and we won't have to do so much cancelling, which will be quite good. We've also had this nice little gentleman here. Jonathan's been presenting to, gosh, well, that was Salford Festival?
Yeah, Salford Festival.
Yeah, and we were talking all about Herschel's heavens there. And we've also been doing lots of fairs and fates and things like this. This is a family that are trying to all learn to use a telescope together. I think it ended in disaster, but we've got Dad trying to line it up. I think the daughter was knocking Mum's head out the way because she wanted to have a look. And son was quite disinterested until he worked out if he whacked the telescope up, he hit Dad in the eye with the eyepiece. So we've been having loads of fun like that all over. And Prim is also, sorry, more photos of you, Prim. But other fairs where we'll be doing rocket launches as well. It's not just telescopes and things. We're having loads of fun, sort of getting people interested in these STEM activities, building rockets and all that kind of stuff. And to the side here, there's loads of solar telescopes. On this particular day, it was cloudy pretty much all the way through. So actually the kids were mostly interested and parents mostly interested in building all these rockets. And we've also had a donation to the society. Meet Mitch. This is us building, or this is me building Mitch. If anyone knows anything about telescope, I'll just put that panel the wrong way around. So you'll notice it flips around. It's flipped around there because I realised I got it wrong. Putting the cell in. The 16-inch Obsonian telescope on a go-to mount. And we've used it in action, and we used it actually on Saturday night, and you got to see. Yeah. So that's pretty good. I think actually there's this flash there of my underwear. I think I'm going to have to edit that one. And Mitch has actually been out. So I was asked to go and help out with a team. There's North Devon astronomers here. We've got Wells and Mendip astronomers. And I went down to support because they'd had someone pull out and they needed some more telescopes. So I traveled down to North Devon and we actually had Mitch running. We had 70 people looking through Mitch. The other night we had about 11 of us up there. So Mitch has, in its short life, 2 outings, has had 81 people looking through it. So in terms of outreach, that's pretty good for 2. Not bad. So this is me, Mitch, and of course the Victorian telescope is Vicky. So at our basis down in Monkton Combe, we've got Mitch and Vicky, depending on who you want to look through. Just because Charles is listening, and I don't want to upset him, no, there's a wonderful concert on of William Herschel's music this coming Friday. And if you just go to Bath box office, then you could go and get yourself a ticket to go along to St Swithin's Church. Kicks off at 7:30. I think there's still spaces available. I think we had a chat. Yep. So perhaps tomorrow, perhaps tonight, book your ticket and get along. You'll see Jonathan there. He'll be there taking your photo, so watch out, anyone who doesn't want their photo taken. And if that absolutely excited and delighted you, alternatively, you could actually pop along to the Opium Bar where you'll find Prim. Prim's not going to go to the Classic. And Jade, they're going to be in the Opium Bar. So you've got the competition. Great, wonderful music, recreated live, or cocktails and chatting about constellations, because I'm not sure there's going to be any, unless you drink a lot, you're not going to be seeing too many of those constellations. The following day, on Saturday, there's also tickets to get into this celebration of astronomy of William Herschel. And that's at Bath Royal Literature and Scientific Institute. Kicks off at 9:30 in the morning, goes through to about 5:45, 6 o'clock. And it's got a whole sort of, in terms of if I was to try and pick a list or sort of work out a list of people I wanted to come and talk to about William Herschel, pretty much this is the list I'd have of people that were accessible within the UK in terms of expertise and knowledge on William and Caroline. So if you want to find out absolutely everything about the Herschels and what their contribution to astronomy, then Saturday, clear your diaries, pop along to brilsey.org and you can get yourself your ticket to get in. Okay, so we're not putting any competition up for that. So actually we are, but the competition on Saturday is, if it's clear, we're going to be setting up some telescopes at 5 o'clock. So you can go to the vast majority of it. But if the weather's clear, we'll set up telescopes at Bath Recreation Centre, Recreation Field, or whatever it's called, the REC. And it's because it's International Observe the Moon night on the 1st of October. So hopefully, if there's a clearing in the cloud, we'll get people looking through telescopes and having a gawp at the moon. Okay, 5 o'clock because we want to get kids interested in things like that. Plus also, if we leave it too much later, the moon's actually going to set. So it's really well set up for America. It's not so well set up for the UK. On Sunday, we've got an online thing that we've organised with Cardiff Astronomical Society, Bristol Astronomical Society, and all the other astronomical societies, if they're interested, effectively directing people that are sort of new to astronomy, new to the hobby, as it were, stargazing for beginners. And it's an online 2-hour session. It's simply 4 basic talks to introduce you to the night sky, what to do about kit, if you want to put a camera on the end of stuff, whether you're just clicking without a telescope or you're bolting your camera on the back of your scope. It's sort of introductory talks, about 20-25 minutes with questions up to about half an hour each, and it'll take you through. And then finally, we've got Jane, who'll be taking you through what to actually have a look at over the coming months. It's free. It did run out of, we've sold out 3 times now. We initially put out for 200 seats on it, then 300, then 400. Actually, we just raised it to 550. The limit actually on the session is 500, but we were expecting some people that have signed up who won't be turning up. So fingers crossed, not all 550 turn up, because 50 people will be disappointed. But the idea about that is not only is these talks, but also to direct people to their local astro societies. Okay, so hopefully it'll get a few people who are going, oh, what do I do next? It will give them the answer to go and join Wiltshire Astronomical Society, Bath, Beckford, or Beckington, yeah.
Simon, on the Sunday, there's also the Herschel Walk. I don't know if there's still places available.
The Herschel Walk is primarily, if not exclusively, for Herschel Society members. So I think that's the way that one's going. So that's why I'm not advertising that. So if you are a Herschel Society member, you already know about it. But I think that's because there's only a certain amount of people that can follow Mike Edmonds around Bath without him having to hold up one of those umbrellas or something and talk very loudly. We've got loads of stuff. So this is just off the front page of our homepage for our website, highlighting all the bits and pieces we've got going. And we're doing lots of these public stargazing things. So whereas over COVID, it was members stargazing, pretty much everything now is going to be open up to the public. Okay, where we do have members stuff, that's when bring your own kit along and we can help you use your own kit and get better. But for the public ones, it's going to be very much sort of just tours around the sky and things like that. But you'll see we've got lots of those. The next one's Monkton Combe on the, well, after the 1st, the 4th. We've got basically every week. And then over the half-term period, we're going to try and cram in as many as we can. Some will be knocked out due to weather, but we'll see how many of these we can actually get done. And we've got Camilla organising one over in Corsham. So it's not just restricted to Bath. I think we've got Tunley Recreation Centre, which is a village outside, and we're going to Wellow to do a community talk and event in November as well. So loads and loads of getting out there and chatting and talking to people. So that should be quite exciting. Our next speaker is going to be Dr. Jennifer Millard. You may actually, if you watch the BBC a lot and anything astronomical comes up, the BBC has got speed dial for Jenny now. So Dr. Jenny is pretty much on everything. So Artemis is rolling out, get Dr. Jenny to talk about it. A meteorite's just been seen over here, get Dr. Jenny. So she'll be coming along. When she booked, she wasn't quite so famous and in demand. So hopefully she'll get back to me soon just to confirm. But her PhD and all the work she's been doing has all been about dust and its effects on observations with telescopes, etc. what you can infer about things from having a model of how the dust interacts inside our solar system. Sorry, well, actually, in terms of does do solar system, galactic, and then between galaxies. So dust apparently is the answer to most of the questions in astronomy, according to Dr. Jenny. Okay, so we've got some goodbyes to say. The main one is Sophia, last flight today. So for the last 8 years has been doing infrared astronomy at 40,000 feet, and had an extension for 3 years. That extension ended today, and the funding has not been continued. So this aircraft is being mothballed. But then again, they've got quite a good infrared telescope now in the James Webb. So perhaps Sophia would have been doing good work, but perhaps it's quite an expensive way of doing it. And another goodbye to DART. So this is the final views that navigation views that the DART spacecraft did as it came to say hello to Dimorphos. And this was it Tuesday morning, about 1 o'clock in the morning. So gone past Didymus there, that's the big one. And then this is around about 500 feet, 150 meters across. Full power, impact, and then they slow down the last few shots. The last shot is the full scales, that's about 30 meters wide there. And then this is an Earth-based telescope. You can see the explosion, well, not explosion, but the dust that's coming off Didymus that you're seeing there. And when they did this, it sends back an image every 30 seconds. That last image was cut off because it was sending as it impacted. So that's why you've got that sort of that big red thing. And then it actually let go, I think it's called Lycia. It's a CubeSat. As DART was approaching, it released this CubeSat. And this is the photo the CubeSat took of the explosion event, or sort of the impact event. And you see all the dust and trails. So it made quite a mess, smashing this spacecraft into Dimorphos. So goodbye to DART. You are no more, but hopefully the trajectory of this is now changed in such a way that we'll monitor over the next 3 to 6 months, which will work out if we can use an impactor effectively to change Earth-bound asteroids and killer comets and things. And today, if you get the news, meet the new commander of the International Space Station, Expedition 68. She took over the reins today. This is Samantha Cristoforetti. So I think she's the same intake of Tim Peake, but she's got on her second mission now, and she's taken over command for the next 3 months of the International Space Station. So she does loads in outreach. She does all the lessons and things on board. She did a great one of do ping pong balls sink in water in space. So if you want to know the answer, go onto YouTube, and that's where you'll find out. And just before we have our next session on the 25th, we've got a partial solar eclipse. And so it's going to take out around about 10–20% of the moon. There's just going to be a little, out of the sun. There's going to be a nibble out of the sun. So you have to be using solar telescopes, or you have to be using proper film, protective goggles or glasses to see it. So it's not one where there is any safe moment in this. Starts around 10 o'clock in the morning and lasts, I think, it's about for an hour or so, as it just nibbles in and nibbles out again. But that's definitely worth sort of, if you're feeling a little ill on a Tuesday morning, well, this is the Tuesday morning to feel.
I'll be here with a strong coffee and a solar telescope.
So in the garden, so it's worth having a look. Just, it's been a while, and we haven't. There isn't going to be a solar eclipse for a long time for the UK. Okay, so I have been rabbiting. I've gone way over my normal rabbit time, but I'd like to introduce Martin. Martin joins. Well, actually, how do I know about you? Effectively, Dark Sky Wales. You and Alan Trow are sort of this buddy team that seem to run the whole of South Wales, and especially all the observing and all of the sort of dark sky activities and all of the work that went to actually getting it recognised as International Dark Sky. Yeah, and the continued work, I'm sure, to retain that.
Working on it.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing concern.
Martin's been an active astronomer for over 40 years now. is it? And not just in the fun of the observing, but you've been sort of teaching it. From when is it? 1991 onwards. You've been,
I've been
back in Swansea.
Swansea, Cardiff, University of Glamorgan, and I was 4 years at NASA and worked at Stanford for a year.
So you've done quite a bit then.
I've been around.
And how many books have you authored now? There's a good chance that you may actually have one of his books in your bookshelf.
I've got two.
You got two.
The last ones I've got in the back. But there's 6 books now, and I don't know, a couple of 100 articles. So I don't know, I just get bored.
Right, an article. Okay, so Martin's here to talk us about Bright Asterisms and Binoculars. I will hand over the clicker, but I will just swap over the presentations. So just bear with me a second whilst I do the swap. That will be great. Thank you.
Marvelous. Excellent. Okay. I know it sounds like I've done an awful lot, but I've never worked a day in my life. Okay. I've just done exactly what I've wanted to do. And as my dad once said, find something you love and you never have to work. And he turned out to be absolutely right. So I became an astronomer because I've been interested from a very young age. So tonight we're going to have a look at something a little bit weird, to be honest, because asterisms are odd things. Let's see if this works.
Oh, I know what it is. If I just go to the presentation, have a click now.
Okay. And I'm going backwards.
That's it.
Aha. That's it. Oh, right. Okay. Works that way. The thing is, asterisms are around long before constellations because everybody from every culture sees something slightly different in the sky. If you take people out now and you ask them to look at the sky, do they recognize patterns? Not a chance, is there? And let's be honest, when you do look at the constellations, you have to, concede that the people who made them were probably on drugs because they don't look anything like they're meant to look, do they? Perhaps Leo looks a little bit like a lion if you, got a bit of a vivid imagination. But where did Aquarius come from? A bloke pouring water, it doesn't look anything like that, does it? So when it comes to looking at the sky, it's quite easy to make up your own patterns. And that's part of the problem. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at some of the patterns that ancient cultures have done. And we'll have a look at some of the ones you can see in binoculars and telescopes then. These are the auspicious asterisms according to the Islamic world. So many of them have disappeared, to be honest. And they do follow some sort of seasonal grouping more than anything else. The auspice of woolen tents I particularly like. Lamb as well. I'm Welsh, so obviously sheep. The voracious one. What on earth is that? Many of these have been lost in time. And what you've got here is they are associated with particular stars anyway. So they're not real constellations. And are they an asterism per se? Look at this. I mean, there's 2 stars. Another 2 stars. 2 stars. Oh, there's 4. It's a wonder that people get a rather confusing look at the sky, isn't it? And of course, even in the Chinese culture, they've got their own look at these kind of things, all based around the North Pole there. I love this one. Of course, we recognize it as the plough, but the Chinese changed their constellations just over 2,000 years ago because the Chinese emperor thought that everything started with him, including the sky. And so he remodeled it all. And this one is now the celestial bureaucrat in his chariot collecting taxes. Oh, no. Good job we haven't got that kind of thing.
Is this the Big Dipper?
It is, yeah. We call it the plough here.
So we call it
It's all right. It's a thing between Alan and I.
Yeah.
He's always calling it the Big Dip. It's the plough. It's the plough for a reason. It's because a Welsh farmer called Hugh Gardner is actually holding the handle of it, and it's being pulled across the sky by Taurus, the bull. So it's I might show you that one if you're lucky. So why asterisms? Well, spot the asterism here. Nope. Has any of you ever looked at Polaris in binoculars or a small telescope? I'd recommend something with a wide field. This is the engagement ring. Okay, there's Polaris, the diamond, and there's the rest of the stars going round. And you can see it pretty well in the finder of your telescope. You know, you need a pretty wide field to do it. But they're all over the place. That's the thing about them. Most of them are sought out by us, of course. Okay, so what we got? The Messier catalogue, yeah, bit old hat now, isn't it? But I love the Messier catalogue. It's the 110 best objects to go looking for. Great introduction to the night sky. And then, you know, you can go on to the Caldwell catalogue. I know a lot of people in the Web Society don't like the Caldwell catalogue, but I think it's great because it's some of the stuff that Messier missed out. And then the Herschel 400. Has anybody ever gone on to that one?
You've actually completed it, have you?
Yes, I've done it. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm number 436 in the world to do it. So I've got my badge, my medal. Yeah, I love observing. I always have done it. And that's why we introduced at the university, you know, courses that took people out under the night sky as well. So asterisms, you know, you've got all your deep sky objects, you know what they are, the galaxies, the star clusters, the globulars, the nebulae, all sorts. But most of them are a bit different, asterisms, and many of them are pretty challenging, to be honest. Here's one. Fine Wolf Harris tile. Can you see what it is yet?
Everything.
Yeah, this will do your head in, okay, without a doubt. This is Eddie's roller coaster in the constellation Cassiopeia. It comes down there, goes up there, goes down there, goes up there, goes up there, and down again. Really? You know, I mean, come on. Some of them are easy to see. Others take a lot of imagination. And an American astronomer saw this in Cassiopeia, and it was just in binoculars. And he thought, oh, that line of stars there, which isn't really a line of stars at all, it's a disconnected load of jumbled nonsense, is actually a roller coaster. So I don't know what he'd been drinking that night, but it's stuck.
Good stuff.
And we've got it. And that's the problem with many of these kind of things. So if you want to go out and see them, then I would recommend wide field first. Okay, and then as they get smaller and smaller, narrow in then. So binoculars are absolutely ideal. This is a bit of a selection that I use. They are my favorites simply because they're light. You know what it's like when you're looking upwards and you've got heavy binoculars, and you're not going to hold them for long, which is why I put them on a tripod. Don't bother otherwise. You'll fall over backwards with them. And somebody did last time, so I've got to buy a new pair now. All the prisms are out. But, you know, sort of 8x40s, 10x50s, you know what they're like. And they're excellent tools. People really don't get it, do they, in astronomy? They think that they've got to run out and buy a telescope. No, binoculars are absolutely superb things. I will show you so much. If you want to photograph these things, then this is a setup that I was using at the time. This is a Star Adventurer, and this is just an ordinary Canon DSLR with a 250mm lens on it, which gives you a nice wide field anyway. So go for it. You don't need long exposures to do this kind of thing either. You'll only get away with about 20, 30 seconds because most of the asterisms are fairly bright. The stars go down to the 11th magnitude, something like that. You don't need long exposures for that sort of thing. So if you've got scopes, carry on, okay? This is a selection. That one's pretty good. Nice wide f5, nice rich field scope. This one is pretty narrow field, to be honest. It's a 5-inch back suit of Intes Micro. It's got 1300mm focal length, so it's daft. I don't use it that much. It's great for planets, but I don't use it, or I use a Vixen. Entirely up to you. You've got lots of telescopes within the society, so get out and use them. But I go for the rich field ones first. And with your eyepieces, well, you know what you're doing. Choose them wisely. Don't use our rubbish. Use the wider fields, okay? Half of them are going to be difficult to make out. It depends upon orientation. And so you've got to, sort of screw your head around until you got it right, or you get away with imagining it. So there's a very, very good book on this kind of thing, which you can download for note. on the internet. It comes in PDF version, and I'd recommend it. It's by Demelza Ramakas, and the PDF itself is absolutely brilliant. And you know, you can print it off, obviously, if you want to take it out with you in the night sky. That one, everybody knows.
Coat hanger?
Coat hanger, yeah, Brocchi's cluster, or call it a 399. Okay, what's that one then? Yeah, now it gets hard, doesn't it?
Eiffel Tower.
Correct. Well done, that man.
A
Give that
prize.
man a cigar.
Yeah.
It is the Eiffel Tower. Yeah. Really? Oh, you know. Oh, it looks more like a Christmas tree. Yeah. No. It's so somebody's got a great imagination. They can get away with these things straight away. Yeah. So many of them are hard. The Royal Greenwich Observatory is a PDF too, you know, which is great around schools and things like that. So you get kids to create their own asterisms and things, because you know, they come up with barking sort of things, like, you know, like, you know, all sorts of games that they play. You know, one of them put together something about Call of Duty. One came up with a submarine not so long ago, and I thought, yeah, why not? You know, carry on. If you think about it, look at the southern constellations, right? They're constructed from things you find in the garden shed. Right? It's as simple as that. You've got the ruler, the set square, the triangle, you've got this, that, and the other, and then Indus, the Indian, and Toucan, things that they'd never seen before. I mean, they're rubbish in comparison to the northern ones, but, you know, they were ordinary people making them up as they went along. So kids doing this are doing exactly the same as those people did 500-600 years ago. And it really gets them going, because the patterns they make up reflect what they know more than anything else. It's good. So, okay. This is the winter hexagon. All right. Goes from Capella through to Pollux, Procyon, Sirius, Rigel, and then up to Aldebaran and then back again. And it encapsulates a load of constellations, obviously. How many people have heard of it? Yeah.
Heard of the winter triangle?
Yeah, you can have the winter triangle, the winter hexagon. So you can make up anything, can't you? When it comes to asterisms, it's brilliant. So yeah, most people will pick that one up because it's got the winter sky there. And they can go from bright star to bright star to bright star to bright star all the way around. And then you can introduce them to all the other stuff in between then. It's great. I don't know why that's spelt like that. Weird. Do you know what it means? Armpit. Yeah, because it's where it is on the figure. Yeah. So when Al-Sufi named them in the 10th century, it was just part of where the figure was. So you call it Beat Algiers, which is the armpit. Great, so romantic. So there we are. There's the winter triangle. Yeah. So you go from Betelgeuse, Procyon, Sirius. But it's not bad. It's fine. The problem is that the only thing it encapsulates is Monoceros, which is a great constellation for deep sky stuff. But if you want to go and have a look at Monoceros, it's rubbish, you know. You know, I mean, you know, I can't remember who made it. It might have been Avelius, but you know, he was definitely on the source that night, because that looks nothing like a unicorn. It looks nothing like a horse, let alone a unicorn. So the winter triangle, great. But I like the hexagon because it takes you all around the winter sky, and most people can pick up the bright figures there. Okay, no prizes for guessing. Summer triangle, yeah. You got Vega, then you got Deneb, but you've got Altair there with the Milky Way. This is from Brecon. This is a 1 minute exposure on Star Adventurer. Yeah, it's pretty dark. It's not bad there at all. So we get away with it quite a lot. Then you've got the spring triangle as well, or you can even bring in the great diamond. You see that we're making all this up as we go along, but all we're using is bright stars more than anything else. And of course, going from Arcturus, you know, you've got the plough there, so you know, sort of arc onto Arcturus, speed onto Spica, and then you can go back to Denebula and then back across. So you've got a spring triangle, or you can go to Cork-Rowley to make up the diamond. Cork-Rowley is not particularly bright anyway. Charles's Heart, it was named by Halley. because during the restoration, he thought that it shone particularly bright. Rubbish. It's never been a particularly bright star, but at least these are, and they're not too bad. You can make them out. But then you've got the Y as well. Oh, come on. There's no end to these kind of things. Okay, you can keep going and going and going. So, what about this then? You've got the Pleiades here, the Hyades there. Would you call them an asterism? Well, yeah, really. The Hyades is a star cluster, but Aldebaran's not part of it. So technically, when you're looking at one part of a constellation, it is an asterism. The Pleiades themselves are a star cluster, but so many cultures have picked it out as a separate entity, haven't they? So it's become either a constellation or, it's the thing on its own. The Golden Gate of the ecliptic is this area here, which goes between the Pleiades and this. Temples in Malta have got this in stele form on little bits of stone. It's been used by various cultures across the Middle East for thousands of years. Why? Well, if you want to go backwards in precession, then the sun moved through this constellation to bring on northern summer, but it was a long time ago. We're talking of over 11,000 years now. So they would have marched this, but the one thing they didn't have was writing. They couldn't tell everybody in the future about this kind of thing. So of course, by the time we invented writing, probably about 5,500, 6,000 BC, and they began to depict these kind of things. But then the writing wasn't particularly great, and much of it is pictographic anyway. So have a look at that. Okay, spot the plough. Yeah, there it is. Okay, you've got the blade there and the 3 stars. How many people can really see it as a bear when you've got the entire constellation there? Yeah. When you're in the dark, it does make sense because you can point it out. And, you have got the extensions along the back, then you've got the ears and the snout and the chest wall, and then, of course, the legs. The thing that, blows it is the tail, because bears don't have tails, do they? The only reason why the tail is long is because, well, the bear was a woman. She was Callisto, and she was the virgin goddess Artemis's servant, but she fell pregnant, and Artemis didn't want people who were pregnant, so she allowed her to give birth and then turned it into a bear, sent her out into the forest to be killed. And so she took the child, stuffed it with ordinary people, and let it grow up. And about 10 years later, Callisto had actually sort of avoided most hunters, and then she saw this little boy by the pool that she was drinking out of, and she recognized her own son. So she ran around the pool to hug him. Of course, all he could see is an onrushing bear. So he puts his spear in the ground, ready to kill the bear that's onrushing. Zeus is looking down. He can't undo the spell. There's agreement between the gods, they can't do that. But he turns Arcas into the little bear. And then to make sure neither of them are hunted, he grabbed them by their tails to throw them up into the northern sky, and recognized how heavy they were. So he swung them round and round and round, and by the time they released, the tails had stretched to become the tails of the bear. Yeah. This is all true, just in case you're wondering. So, you've got tails that go with these kind of things as well, which are equally as important as knowing the science, because this is the kind of thing that people want to know. You can blow them away with, how far away things are and what they like and how big the stars are. But really, the kind of things that stick with people are stories. So it's good for that. So we've had a look at that one, Polaris and the engagement ring. Go and have a look at it the next time you're out. Just stick the finder on it. It's much easier with a dob, because if it's equatorially mounted, it's going to take forever to get there. It doesn't like going close to the pole. But there's another one called the Broken Ring as well. Not far off Dubai, and there it is there. Okay. It looks more like a Cheshire cat smiling, but you can't call it that because there really is a Cheshire cat smiling somewhere else. Okay, so you can find these out from Demelda's book. you know, I'd recommend downloading if you want to look at this kind of thing, because half of them will annoy you, the other half will challenge you, and probably whatever's left, you won't be able to see. So they really are the eye of the beholder. But some of them are quite easy. There's a rubbish photo. This is the question mark right in the head of Cetus the whale. And it's got this little... And you can actually make it out with the naked eye if you're in a dark sky area. But in binoculars, it comes out straight away. And, you know, you've got binoculars and tripod, doesn't matter how big they are. As it's rising, you can see this kind of thing and point it out to other people. Because they like that kind of thing, strangely. You know, it's just quirky and they enjoy that. This is even worse though, okay? The shark with the fin. To be honest, you can make anything to the mouth and the belly and the tail's no more. But see what I mean about making it up? Yeah. Would you have thought that that was a shark? Not a chance. But it is, it's all in the eye of the beholder. Just because you've got a bit of a triangle there and a back that goes across there. I mean, you know, you can go and make up a tail if you really want to. It looks like a big fat shark to me with, you know, sort of a head just there and no tail. Yeah, great white. Yeah. Yeah. Or megalodon if you want. Even better. Yeah, we call it the meg. Yeah. Hunting them down can be really difficult, but the PDF gives you all the coordinates for these kind of things. So if you've got a go-to telescope, then put the coordinates in, go to it, have a look, and you know, make sure you're on a wide field, because otherwise, you know, half the time you're looking through these kind of things. Kemble's Cascade, well known. Okay, it was a monk, Father Lucian Kemble, who discovered it in binoculars. Not really, it had been seen for years and years, but he said, oh, that looks like a nice little waterfall of stars coming down to a lovely cluster there, which is NGC 1502. It's a great thing to look at, actually, and half of it is almost visible to the naked eye because you can see it as a line above the shoulders of Perseus. And then when you look at it, you end up going down this nice little sort of, you know, wandering line of stars all the way down to there. And if you keep going, there's a nice little planetary nebula just off there, NGC 1501, which is pretty grey and ghostly, but it's a nice one. It really is nice. So he got his name in the books, and he's been dead now several years, but he's immortalised here with Kemble's Cascade. This one is brilliant. Lying almost directly above the Hyades, in between the Hyades and the Pleiades, is Davis's dog. Right, here we go. Okay. You can call it whatever you want. Okay. I would say that the snout is here, and it goes up to the ears and the head, and then there's the back, the tail sticking out, back leg, belly, front leg.
It looks like it's running really fast.
Yeah, it's sort of, yeah.
In my head, it didn't go as far as that snout. It was kind of, it ended further that way.
Yeah, just there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very easy to see in binoculars, very, very easy. And in you know, a 3-degree field, you pick it up straight away. All you got to do is look at Aldebaran, go to the top of the Hyades, keep going, and bang, it's there, it just pops out. Now, when I showed Alan this, he said it's rubbish. It's not a dog at all. I said, well, no, obviously not. It's just a group of stars, isn't it? But apparently it's meant to look a bit like a dog. Apparently. Okay. Oh, there we go. Now, this is the Cheshire Cat, and it lies between Mercy 38 and 36, and can be a little bit difficult to make out, to be honest, because this is the curve of stars there, and this comes from a rather long exposure, actually, because I wanted to get the clusters, and then you can see the eyes just there. Then, really, yeah, I don't like that one much. It's not difficult to make out once you're under the sky, and of course you haven't got all the background Milky Way stars. It does pop out a little bit then, But apart from that, it's hard.
It's like the mouth, but the same.
Yeah, it is a little. Yeah, it's not very good. But none of these are. You know, all they are is just interesting sort of patterns that people have suddenly thought, well, this looks like that. That's it. Yeah, really. Okay. And then not very far away, you've got the leaping minnow, according to the American who made it up. Actually, this pops up in your finder every time because it's the jumping off point to go and find Messier 38 anyway. So you've got the little stars there, which are, you know, are obvious to the naked eye, to be honest. And then you use the end one to go off to Messier 38 if you're just star hopping, and you ignore that, which is good. Because I don't think it looks like a leaping minnow at all. But, you know, it could look a little bit like Delphinus if you really want to, with a few stars there and a tail.
Yeah, I can't see.
No, no. But Delphinus itself is one called Jacob's Coffin, which we'll come on to in a minute. I have no idea why. I really don't. Yeah. Okay. Al Nagler, famous, very famous guy in astronomy circles, because he started the Teleview company. And if anybody got a Teleview telescope? Yeah, I wish. Yeah, yeah. It's comical seeing Andy Burns and Lee Pullen. They were my students, so I must be getting old. But Andy's got one. In fact, he got two. That's typical of Andy. And Al Nagler was testing a Teleview telescope in America, and he came across this chevron in the sky, and he thought, well, I'll make a catalogue of weird asterisms. So he said, this is Nagler 1. There isn't a Nagler 2 or 3 or 4. Well, that was it. So the Nagler catalogue is just singular. Right? But you know, Al could get away with it. He was very good like that. It's a pity he's gone now as well. But he was a brilliant observer, and as an optics maker, I don't think there was a better one in modern years. But it's easy to find. If you go down to Adara and then across, then you're away. And it shows up straight away in binoculars. Obviously, you know, because I'm taking photographs, it's going to bring out fainter stars in the background. But most of these will just jump out at you anyway. Okay. Orion's belt, everybody looks at it, don't they? But, you know, there's a fantastic cluster, Condor 70, that winds its way through there. And, you know, there's hundreds of stars in it. Just rest your binoculars on it for a while, because most of the stars are, you know, they go down to about 10th magnitude, 11th magnitude. We should be able to pick up the majority of them with binoculars. And it's fabulous. And you might be able to pull out NGC 2024 there, the flaming heart, the tank track, call it whatever you want. Right? And we seem to sort of come up with names on either side of the Atlantic. So to us, it was the tank track. To the Americans, perhaps more romantic, was the flaming heart nebula. But well, we got away with the horse head. But that was found by Annie Cannon anyway, so in Harvard. But it's great. And of course, you've got the 3 stars of the belt, which of course are an asterism themselves, because everybody knows it, don't they? You know, you talk to people out there when you're doing outreach, and they're, oh, where's Orion's belt? Well, what about the rest of him? Yeah, but they know the 3 stars. You know, and then you can make out the rest of this figure then. But half the time, they don't realize the rest of the figure. You know, the three belt stars are the ones they go for. I love the Hyades. I love the Pleiades as well, but there's something about the Hyades, because they've got that lovely V shape with Aldebaran stuck there. And if you go out, then you've got a little star cluster, NGC 1647, just sticking between the horns. And there's another one out there as well, NGC 1746. So all you got to do is juxtapose the letters and you're away. But Davis's dog, just there, look. Yeah. So you don't have to go far. Yeah, it still don't look like a dog. It could be a dragon, actually.
Stuffed dog, maybe.
Yeah.
Children's stuffed dogs.
Yeah. Or a dog's toy.
Oh, yeah,
It's
that's
a bit
what I meant
chewed
when I
up
said
in it.
stuffed dog,
I got to be honest, whenever they come up with animals in the night sky and you're trying to describe them, they look more like roadkill than anything else. Yeah, because you know they're just squashed, flattened, rubbish. It's hard to make out the patterns on them. And asterisms are exactly the same. But I love this one because you can keep a good eye on it. And what you'll notice, if you're careful, and you have got a dark sky area, is that you've got a little inky spot there. And that is where Heinz Variable Nebula is. It's around a star called T Tauri, but half the time, because it's variable, so it comes and goes a bit. It's usually about 11th, 12th magnitude, but the nebula is slightly brighter if it's visible at all. So have a look. It is quite good. Then Lambda Orionis, we tend to forget that that's the head of Orion, and it's actually a little star cluster anyway, Colander 69. And it's got lots of little adages to it. And you can jump off here to go and find NGC 2022, which is a nice little greenish planetary nebula as well. But with binoculars, you can see this kind of thing. And the one thing you notice straight away is the difference in colour. I love that in binoculars. It's great because you know what it's like when you're trying to describe star colours to people who've never seen star colours before. They all think they're white, don't they? But star colours are subtle, you know, for the simple reason of, well, there's Vine's law really in physics. You know, if it's cool, everything shifts to the infrared. If it's hot, everything shifts to the ultraviolet. So you've only got this narrow band of colour in the night sky. But you can make them out. And if you get people to really seriously have a look at it, you know, because you know what it's like. And people will come in, they'll have a quick look through the telescope. Oh yeah, I've seen that, and off they go to something else, don't they? Get them to observe. That's one of the hard parts, you know. Sort of, you know, before they get up, grab them, keep them there, make sure they see it properly. Yeah. And of course, in Orion, you've got this one, NGC 2139. Anyone seen this one? Yeah. It's lovely, one of my favorites, the 37 cluster, because it looks like the number 37. And it really does. There we are, number 3, there's a 7. And all the stars are different colors as well. They're mostly blue or white, and there's 2 red ones in there. But it's a great cluster to find. Not very easy. It's up on Orion's armies over in the club with, so you should be able to find it okay. But you know, when we show people that, they go, "Oh yeah, yeah." So it's obvious then. Then you show them something else, and they go, "No, I'm not interested in that one. I want something else," because you know it's pretty well defined there, the 37. And how many people have seen this one? This is Arcturus, and this is Napoleon's hat. Yeah. It's visible in binoculars. The minute you start looking at that, you notice that.
It's like more like a sombrero.
Yeah, it could be a sombrero, yeah. Unfortunately, we've got away with Napoleon's hat for so long. So you'll have to go for it now. You know, look at it. It's just 7 stars. That's all it is. But it's so obvious when you're looking. And of course, what we do with Arcturus is, you know, generally, you don't even look at the bright stars with a telescope, do you? Unless you're just, you know, sort of focusing in, or if you've got a camera stuck on it and you want to focus the camera. But if you just have a look at that in binoculars, immediately that'll pop out on that little double there. It's another thing you can show and see. And Greg's 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see that one. Yeah, there's another one called Packham's 3 as well, which is not very far. It's in Binoculars, and that looks more like a 3 than Greg's 3, to be honest. But they're all in the PDF. Have a look at them. So, and of course in binoculars again, it pops out quite easily. That's rubbish. The Stargate. I don't know where they come up with that one. I got to be honest, because that's all it is just 3 stars with 3 inside. It looks great. You need a telescope to see this one because it's quite small and compact. But you know, it's not right in the middle of Corvus either. It's off to slightly one side, still within the constellation boundary, but it can be a little bit difficult to find this one. And then when you've got it, it's just these 3 stars inside 3 stars, so triangle within a triangle. So how they thought of it as a Stargate, I just don't know. But there we are. Such is life. Everybody knows the keystone, okay? And of course, it is an asterism. We've been using it for years, haven't we? Yeah, and it's fantastic. Yeah, and of course, you've got Messier 13 stuck in the middle of it. What we forget is that it's actually the skirt, because the guy's upside down. Because he was turned that way after he died. Zeus placed him in the sky the right way up, but Hera hated him. And so when Zeus went away, he was turned upside down. So the blood's always run into his head. So you're actually, the keystone is the skirt, and then the legs come off it then. And then the rest of him is, well, he sort of goes up to the shoulders and then seems to disappear after that, doesn't he? There is one star, Ras Al Haig, which is meant to be the head of the Nila, which is a great star. It's pretty faint to the naked eye, but if we could see an infrared, it would be one of about 3 stars in the sky you could see, because its infrared output is massive. It's a huge red giant at quite a distance, but its infrared output is great. So, you know, you can point these kind of things out. And for most people, finding Hercules, it can be quite hard, can't it? Because the stars are faint to start off with. But when you've got that keystone and then, you know, the rest of the body going down to the shoulders, it generally works out okay. Okay, Little Orion. Now you need binoculars for this one, definitely, a telescope. This is a picture from the observatory of the North American Nebula. Okay, right. There's the 2 stars at the top, 3 at the belt, 2 at the bottom. It looks better in binoculars because you haven't got the faint stars in the background. But as this area here is part of what we call the northern coal sack anyway, you begin to get the stars disappearing there. You may well see some of the murkiness of NGC 7000 as well, but the Little Orion one sort of does pop out in binoculars for you. I'd never seen that before, and I've looked at this hundreds of times. And goodness knows how many times I photographed it. And then when I read the PDF, I thought, oh really? I might have a picture of that. And lo and behold, I did. Yeah, so it's quite easy to make out, even if the nebula isn't. And it's not very far from Deneb, so you can zoom in on it. Okay, I don't know what I did with that one, but you can see what it is. The coat hanger. And everybody goes looking for the coat hanger. But most people I find who want to go and see the coat hanger are the astronomers. As you point it out to people, you know, in the public, and they all go, oh, right, yeah. I don't know why we get excited about it. Every year there was a guy, Keith Clark at Bright Asterisms, who was, oh, show me the coat hanger, show me the coat. Why, Keith? You've seen it billions of times. You know, oh, I just want to see it again. He had his own telescope. He could have found it himself. What's the matter with it? But you know, it is quite nice. And when you do a long exposure, it's surprising how much dark nebulae is there in the background as well. It's good. There we are. There's Jacob's coffin, which is the entire constellation of Delphinus. But I think that they mean the top part here, which of course is the body connecting with the tail. Anybody see Delphinus as a dolphin anyway? No. In Welsh mythology, it's the mermaid of Cymaint, which is even worse now, isn't it? You know, at least a dolphin's real. And it's a dolphin that rescued Hebe when she was coming back to Zeus. after a poetry competition which she won, and the sailors on the boat wanted all the cash she'd won. So she jumped into the sea, and Zeus sent a dolphin, who then rescued her and took her to an island, then died in the process. So he took it and placed it in the sky. Love him. Yeah, it's quite nice, but why it's called Jacob's coffin, I've not been able to find out. So if you do, answers on a postcard, okay? I'd like to know. And of course, you can get star clusters too, as asterisms. This is Messier 6, the butterfly. Yeah, yeah. If you go down to the south coast, usually around sort of, early June, or perhaps late May, you've just got it early in the morning, then just a peak above the horizon, and you can also see Messier 7 as well. So we can see these southern objects, but we can see them for about an hour or two on any good night before they then go back. It's a shot I took from Andy's observatory out in Andalusia, actually, and it has got different coloured stars in it. But you can see that, does it look like a butterfly? Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, that's not so bad then. I mean, the wild duck, not a chance. Yeah, W.H. Smythe or Smith, whatever his name was, or Admiral Smith, as we should call him, puts together the Bedford catalogue of all these wonderful things that people can observe in the night sky. And he wants to do this for the good of the public, which is very laudable. So he puts this beautiful volume together. It's all nicely leather bound and everything, and costs the best part of a tenner in the mid 1800s, which nobody could afford. So you can get the Bedford catalogue now, and it's pretty good. But how the hell he thought this was wild ducks, I just don't know. It does have this V shape in a small telescope, but yeah, I mean, his description of it.
You can actually see another butterfly.
Yeah. See? I think you can see whatever. Yeah. According to Smith, this was a flight of wild ducks disturbed at their leisure by the lowing of Thessalian bulls coming to drink. What was he on? Because that kind of florid sort of purple prose has really got, no place in astronomy, I suppose, but he just wanted to enthuse people about it. So he called this one the wild duck. Messier 73, not a great photo of it. It's, not even a star cluster. It's just a couple of stars stuck together, but it's definitely an asterism and can be seen with binoculars. So you can also, if you join as a society or join as an ordinary member, you can become part of the Astronomical League of America, and then you can go and get all these basically pretty good observing catalogues from them, and then you can go off and do whatever you want. So these are the asterism observing program. Okay, what you got to put into it once you see them. These are the tools. I use binoculars, telescopes. Was it manual or aided? Were they were manual? More telescopes allowed? No. You can't go using folks on Hawaii or something like that. Okay, for a start, the field of view is far too small. Visual imaging? Oh yeah, okay, we let you get away with that. This is just one level. You have to do 100 observations at different things. You've got to be a member. And 6-inch is a minimum size of a telescope. But to be honest, many of them can be binoculars anyway. There's no deadlines for submission, no special equipment. If you want to construct the equipment, carry on. Observations must be submitted to an online database. No, you just pack it all together and send it off to the coordinator. And then you get a badge and a certificate, if you like that kind of thing. So as long as you got you fulfill all the requirements, then you're away. I haven't bothered doing this one, to be honest. I just use Demelda's book instead, and this one has got so many in it that cross over from the book anyway that I thought I just won't be bothered. And then the Americans went totally nuts with the rest of them, because a lot of them are so difficult to see and to make out what they meant to be that you could be looking at anything. So you need a guided telescope to just find what these things are, and then try looking at the field with something manual. But half the time it's hard. But there is an asterism award. There's a lunar award. There's this, well, to be honest, there's awards and awards and awards and awards that they give out. And it's just nice to do these kind of things, because we're always looking for something to do, aren't we? We can go through the Messier catalog time and time again. We can have a look at the Caldwell stuff. We can have a look at NGC stuff. But generally what we do is we end up showing the public the same thing, don't we? So just to stretch ourselves, it'd be good to do just something different. And there is a very good book, actually. I think it's coming back in print shortly, which is Pattern Asterisms by Chiravel. It was out of print from Springer for a while, but it may be back in now. And it is the definitive book on asterisms in the sky. Nobody's bettered it yet. All they've done is nick bits out of it, which is good. So to summarize then, they are alternative deep sky objects. You know, you could thrill people with looking at the Eiffel Tower, you know. Yeah, it is a good one, actually. At least it looks like it, which is good. But, you know, as I say, many are seriously weird, okay? And, you know, like Eddie's roller coaster, you know, come on. You know, you can make up any undulation of stars, can't you, into a roller coaster. But there's, you know, there's plenty to see in each season, and Denouse's book will show you that kind of thing. You've got all kinds of materials available online, and then you've got awards and programs, and basically it's just something different to do, which is why I started doing it and regretted it ever since, to be honest. But you know, there is plenty there. So it's just a bit of fun, okay? Remember that. That's what you're meant to have, okay? If you're going out cursing and swearing and can't find things, do something else, all right? You're meant to be enjoying yourself. Some of these will have you cursing and swearing, I tell you now, but just ignore them, go off. It's not, you know, your life doesn't depend upon finding these kind of things, does it? Just go out and enjoy it for what it is. This is David's D, by the way. Does look like a D, doesn't it? And you've got some galaxies in the background as well. So there we are. Thank you very much, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed.
Thank you, Martin.
If you've got any questions, then carry on.
Dive in, everyone, yeah?
I've got one.
Um,
Thanks for that talk. Really interesting. If you want to make up your own asterism, where would it be? What do you think?
Oh, goodness me.
Have you made it?
There's a couple of bits in Binoculars, actually, which look seriously like an hourglass, but it's quite large, and so I haven't been able to photograph it yet, simply because I forgot about it, and then we got involved with the public. But I come across it once, and I've got to go and find it again then. So the hourglass was okay, but I think it was in the eye of the beholder as well, because Alan couldn't see it at all.
What was your favourite asterism?
Oh, I think it's Davis's dog, to be honest, because it's so easy. You know, you just, all you got to do is just hold the binoculars on the Hyades and just go up a little bit, and it just pops out. It's straight there. Now I've got the sort of bare outline of the dog. I can see it every time, and it's like that with constellations, isn't it? You recognize patterns almost immediately. So if you've been doing it as long as me, you can see a single star in the sky and go, oh, that's part of this constellation, and it is rather weird, but that's what you do in the end, because you get to know the seasons and the patterns and, you know, positions and things like that. So yeah, do it. Yeah, it's fun. But Davis's dog is great. You've got to look at that one.
Have you tried to invent any of your own?
No, I let the kids do it, to be honest. If we visit a school, I'm retired now, so I get on and most of it. But the kids come up with all sorts of stuff. Like, you can just give them a bare star chart of perhaps, somewhere like the winter hexagon where you've got all the winter constellations, and it's like join the dots. And like, they come up with, battleships, all sorts of stuff, and it's great, because you can see their imagination going, and you wonder what constellations would be like if we went to another world. And we try and get kids to sort of invent that kind of thing as well. And like, if we got outside our solar system, the stars you see here would be completely different. So what kind of patterns would you like to see in the sky? And then they just go mad then. Yeah. Most of them got Xboxes and stuff, all sorts of stuff that they're familiar with, like bikes and scooters and whatnot. But that's fine. It's good.
Yeah, you mentioned the Eiffel Tower. Where was that?
I think it's in Ursa Major.
Ursa Major, okay.
Yeah, either in Ursa Major or Draco, so it's one of the two. No, I haven't looked at it since 2020. So.
Do constellations still have a role then, effectively, sort of, or in the age of go-tos and things like that? Should we still be directing people to go down the constellations, or should it be, let's build up their own picture by asterisms?
Because they are accepted internationally, then get them to recognize constellations. Once they do that and they get the patterns, they can go make up their own if they want to after that then. But I would say get those recognized patterns first and then go from there, because you can always go back to what is known and studied and understood from culture to culture to culture to culture, because they are important. That's why there are 88 constellations in the sky internationally recognized, is because they encapsulate almost every culture on the planet from time immemorial, really. Probably the first recognizable constellation that we can definitively point to is Taurus, because somebody drew it amongst all the animals in the caves in Lascaux. Now you've got all these, aurochs and all sorts of, sort of interesting antelopes and stuff there, all perfectly formed. And in the middle of them is half a bull, with the shoulders, the front legs, and the horns and the face. And then they moved the ladder, went up another 3 meters, and put 6 stars above the shoulder. Now it's definitively Taurus, because that's the way we've always defined Taurus. The Babylonians drew it, the Egyptians drew it, the Greeks drew it, the Romans nicked it because they didn't do much. And almost every culture has had them since.
So Taurus was the first one that was
we think it was pretty well recognized, and the reason it was recognized is because it was the passage of the sun from below the equator into northern hemisphere. So it brought on summer, which is probably why all the animals were drawn around it, because they were migratory, and so it brought them with it. And that was drawn sometime about 23,000 years ago by Cro-Magnon people. So it predates the Oronations and everything. And it's
Do you reckon it looks slightly different?
Yeah,
They changed it over like thousands.
They do, but of course they change on great time scales. If we had to look at something like the plough, it would take 100,000 years for one of the stars to move appreciably, that the pattern would be lost. And because Taurus is effectively 2 star clusters, then they remain very much the same. So it's they wanted to tell us something, but they didn't have a written language. So the only way they could do it is by showing a picture, which is what kids do. Yeah. Brilliant stuff.
So to learn constellations, would you advise us to pop up to South Wales and have a look from the Brecons?
Yeah, by all means. Yeah, yeah. Just let us know, and we'll get the telescopes out and open up the observatory. We just do bits of observing there, really. If it was clear on Saturday, then we probably have a group of about 50 up there looking at the moon and Saturn and Jupiter and things like that. So we'll have to see how the weather goes. But yeah, get in touch, and we'll have to go up there. It is fairly dark. Where we go is the National Park Visitor Centre, which isn't particularly dark. Well, it is, but it's not the darkest place in the park. But to get to the darkest place in the park, you'd need pretty good directions. So it really is in the middle of nowhere. It's a reservoir, but and it's got lovely car parking space. But usually we've got to sort of either bump the fishermen into the water or bump them off. So because they turn up with headlights blaring and everything. So it's pretty bad. But the visitor centre is quite good, and it is very dull. So yeah, by all means, come along. Yeah, or go up the Ellen Valley. It's even darker.
Yeah.
Having said that, there's very few places to actually stop there. The one that we go to is on Pennegarreg Wen Dam, because you can drive across the dam, and there's a car parking area on the side there. So we set up there. Then half the time we jump over the fence and set up by the side of the reservoir. But with so many people there, I don't want anybody falling in. So it's a 40-foot drop down. You'd be all right because the water should cushion it at the bottom, but the water's very deep.
Yeah.
So, but the Ellen Valley, some parts of Snowdonia are very dark. We've worked with the Clwydian Range and with the Llŷn Peninsula as well, and Anglesey. So they're all going for dark sky recognition at some point.
Do you always get a turnout of about 40, 50 people then?
Yeah, quite regularly. Sometimes because there's so much demand, we have to do 2 sessions. So
Are those public viewings or are they just?
they basically are public viewings, but because we're professional astronomers, this is our job. And then we generally get paid for it. Or people will pay to turn up.
You get them as gifts, can't you? Vouchers
You
to
can.
pop along to the Brecons to see the
Yeah.
night sky.
Yeah. And if you've got an assigned date and you can't see anything, then we'll sort of say come along at another time. But so we contact everybody by email anyway, and say, right, if you can make it, there's this session going on. You're in this tranche of people that are ready to go up, so please come along if you can. And then they come back, and we generally get 40.
And what telescope do you have?
It depends. We've got a 12-inch Newtonian in the observatory with a piggyback 5-inch on it, refractor, and then we just put our own stuff all over the place. So I've got a 12-inch Dob. I've got telescopes galore, half of which my wife doesn't know about, so don't say a thing. I mean they're all mine, and I've also got a 5-inch Bresser, which is quite nice. I've got 80 mils coming out of my ears, all sorts really. But we set them all up anyway.
I think one of the ideas I was thinking of bringing up at our committee meeting was like little trips out. So also quite nice to
Yeah.
something
I
like
mean,
that, maybe.
we even do it in midweek if we can, if the weather's good. So even if you wanted to come up midweek, then let us know, and we'll just put it on as an extra activity just for your group. Or I'd meet you up there and bring scopes along. Yeah,
It's a camper van come bus.
yeah, well, yeah,
No, you'd probably hire a little minibus.
yeah. You probably would be better off hiring a minibus, but yeah, I mean, if you use Andy Burns's camper van, there'd only be one person in it anyway. But, he's got it full of rubbish. Surplus. We do a session down in Dunstable every year, and he turns up with a telescope, and we got a planetarium. And the last time he wasn't looking where he's going, there's a 90-degree bend in the road, and he's zooming along at 60 miles an hour, looking at his phone. He went straight through the field. So you'll have to ask him about that one.
Did he blame the field?
Well, he looked up, and all he could see was a 5-bar gate coming toward him, and he thought, well, there's no point swerving now. So He just went straight through it and ploughed across the field and then back out the same entrance and back onto the road. So
No one
thankfully,
spotted it.
He had the momentum to keep going, but it took us weeks to wash the mud off his van.
Well, Andy's doing the opening talk on Sunday, so that promises to put a bit of
Oh, he's good.
energy into the event.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah, and Lee will be good as well. His photography is coming on in leaps and bounds, so he's doing well. He was at Explore in Bristol. Don't have to catch up with him.
Yeah.
It's just funny. No, it's not. It's good. It's good to see my students doing well.
So what's it like sort of transposing that? Because those are kind of dedicated people with quite an interest in astronomy and things like that. But on the boats, on the Queen Mary 2, isn't that a different audience? Is that?
Oh, yeah. They just a general sort of public audience. There's not many astronomers amongst them, although Paul Money was on it the last time.
Okay.
He was sitting in the audience, so he came up to me later. There are very few professional astronomers in the audience because they're just generally doing other things, aren't they? So it's simply for the public. So this time I was with it was sort of a bit of a sort of like Laurel and Hardy, really. The astronaut Robert Thirsk was on just before me, and then he came to my lectures. I went to his, and then everybody sort of piled in the end all together. It was great. He's a nice guy, very nice, Canadian. He went up on one of the shuttle missions in the 90s and was on the International Space Station for 3 months then. So you just end up meeting weird people, really. But it's fun. That was the second time I've been on the Queen Mary. Yeah. I'm going to Norway next year on the Queen Victoria. Okay.
So that's up the fjords, and that's hunting for. Actually, no, because you said it was in summer, so that's not looking for.
We're not looking for anything. What they want is, because it's a cruise, then they want activities for people on board, really. So they engage us as lecturers to do that, and we get the voyage for nothing. So, which is great. So you get your own stateroom, as they call them. With balconies and everything, which is a bit boring on the transatlantic one because you would not believe how empty the Atlantic is. There's sort of 8 days of looking out of your cabin. There's not a ship, there's no iceberg, there's nothing. We did see some porpoises and whales one day, and that was it. Yeah. But apart from that, sort of going on a cruise around the fjords is going to be more interesting because there's a bit of land involved.
You get to do any observing on those?
No, not really. The Atlantic is weird. You can get up in the morning and it's perfect. But the thing is, you're traveling. So you end up going into some storm or other by the night and or it clouds over and things like that. It has been done, but you've got to be very lucky to get it. And by the time you're beginning to reach America, you're coming over the Grand Banks. Where they pass the Titanic, and they tell you all about that. And it's great. And my wife was a bit freaked out by that. We're going to have a minute's silence because we're passing over the Titanic. What? Well, it's a similar run, love. We're not going to sink. It's okay. And so they tell you all about that then, and then it fogs up because the banks themselves are very shallow. You're going from water that's basically 3 miles deep to something that's about 600 feet deep. And you've got ocean currents like the Gulf Stream and things like that, which are then meeting with the cold Atlantic waters. And so it gets foggy, so you can't see anything. And then the day after, then you've passed the banks, back into deep water again, and it's clear. And you go, right, okay, we'll do something tonight. And then it's foggy. It's hard. It's hard. Well, it's not hard. It's a jaunt. It's great, but to go stargazing on it is not probably recommended. Yeah.
Well, there are other gigs out there. Was it Dr. Becky? She's got a gig at an observatory in the Maldives. That's perhaps when you've missed there.
I'm retired, so it might come along. I'm looking forward to I went to Prague just before I went on the Queen Mary for a New Scientist magazine, leading a group out there doing Renaissance astronomy. So I'm going to the eclipse in Mexico in 2024 for them as well. So it just never ends. It's awful, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know?
we're not jealous.
No, like my father said, you know, just find what you enjoy. And, you know, I've just been very, very lucky. But I've just ended up having a nice career, and now I've got a nice retirement doing the kind of things that I've always wanted to do. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
Well, thank you very much for popping along to come
You
to
are
see
most
us.
welcome.
Yeah,
Thank you
and
very much for having me.
engaging us in asterisms, so we know what they are and we know which ones to go and look for. And Jonathan, I expect you to be very excited about seeing the coat hanger a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
We've got to go and see that one. So that'll be that'll be your first question. Yeah. And it's okay because I can just make up any shape of stars. I'll just make up a name and like we'll pretend. Yeah.
Going out to make up patterns, and the next public session you've got, see how many of them can actually recognise a real constellation, or can they make up something? Because they will.
Yeah.
You know, just stand on the laser pointer and go, oh, I think that's whatever. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Were you trying to guide anyone